lust is a temporary insanity. It's not going to necessarily take you from one place to the next. It will make you feel good, but it won't make you feel good for long. And so having that dialogue, having that communication, having that mutual respect, because people need to have some congruency in terms of where they're going, where they see their future, and what their ideals are for child rearing. And to failure to do that early in relationships, I'm not saying to jump every relationship and think that you're going to marry that person. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, that when you get someone that you see a lot of compatibility with, that you really do like, it's time to start having those kinds of conversations with or without the context of marriage, but with the concept that this is somebody that I could possibly spend a lot of time with, maybe a life with.
Peace and good evening, everyone. It's with heavy hearts that we start this special edition of HAPI Talks. We have a really exciting platform here tonight with two great individuals. But before we get started, we would like to just pay a special tribute to a great ancestor, someone who just departed very recently and made the transition very recently. That's Nana Dr. Patricia Newton. Just wanted to give a special testimony to Dr. Newton and just how important she was or is to our community. We know all the work that she's done in terms of just being a vanguard and a fighter and a warrior for our people. But just on a personal note, Dr. Newton was very instrumental in the production of HAPI, kind of behind the scenes, and even more so on the HAPI Talk side. People don't know just how much counsel she gave to me in terms of certain interviews, how to contact certain individuals, and how to just make this thing come alive. So, it was for me a personal loss in that, we spoke recently in terms of just getting this certain things done. We were supposed to do something last Thursday. I'm sure you all was aware that the program with her and Dr. Malvo was postponed. Now we see, essentially what the reason why and what happened. But again, we want to honor her tonight, and we dedicate this special edition of HAPI Talks to her and to her memory and legacy. And one of the things that's so important about that is what she meant in terms of how we need to come together as a community. We need to honor that in terms of keeping moving this forward in our discussions, keep moving forward in our actions. And when we think in terms of the HAPI movement and what it represents, she's really embodied that. So when we talk about supporting other Black people, we really, really need to do that. And this discussion tonight is going to center around support of the community. It's going to center around the reasons why we need to support one another. There's a lot of conversations going on right now with just vampires of the community, bloodsuckers of the poor, things like that. People kind of constantly taking the lifeblood out of us. But how do we make that shit stop? Like, we need to do certain things to kind of make these things stop. And we really think about making it stop. We have all the answers. So for me, it's kind of frustrating at times because we're not really kind of implementing these answers. So with that, I want to introduce my co-host tonight, Felicia Hart and Felicia Hoppy. She'll be with us throughout the conversation. And, we just want to keep this thing moving.
Yeah. Hey, greetings, everybody. I didn't know Patricia Newton, Dr. Newton, for as long as I think Taki and maybe some of you guys on here. But I tell you, the one time I did the interview and talking to her, I just fell in love with this woman. She was a truth talker from the beginning, but it's just her kindness and just who she was and how much she loved her people. And I think that's the piece that you didn't have to know her for a long time to understand how she was dedicated to making sure that she did everything she could to move the Black race forward. And so one of the things that, when I think about her, and I think about, just as Taki said, the HAPI movement. And the HAPI movement was created because of her, of elders like her. And it's very important that we not only, listen to what the elders have said or things that books they've written or interviews that they've said, but that we actually embody them and that we take this baton and we move it even further. And so one of the ways, and we talk about this all the time, is just joining the HAPI movement. And what does that mean? Well, it means supporting other Black people other, not just Black businesses, but Black businesses supporting other Black businesses. That's really important. And it's not just about, we're just going to go and, I get my groceries from the store, but really support in a real way, rooting for them to be okay. This is what we've got to do. So that's one part of the HAPI movement. The second piece is just becoming more financially literate with our money. We have $1.3 trillion amongst all of us. So we gotta, make sure we understand how money works. That's super important. That's part of the movement. And the last point is teaching the youth the truth. And this is what Dr. Newton has done. And this is what Professor Small, Dr. J, everyone, they are teaching the youth, which is all of us watching this right now. And it's up to us to teach someone all the things that we learn. And HAPI Talks is part of that, teaching the youth the truth. It's really important that you guys subscribe to our channel. And why? So that we can keep bringing this programming. All of these things, it takes money and it takes resources. And the more likes we can get, but really more importantly, the more subscriptions, just joining, subscribing to the page, that's super important. And then sharing these videos that we do every week, these are like nuggets, within our community that we can look at, and then we can just like kind of put to like the next level. And it's really important that we support each other in that. We have a screening coming up this Saturday. It's October 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Get your tickets. And most people actually on here has probably already seen HAPI 1 or 2 times. So we are counting on you to tell someone who hasn't seen it, because there's plenty of people. I meet people every single day that's never heard of HAPI, and not to say that you have to, but I know that they probably know someone that has seen this film. And so it's very important for you guys to tell other people, make them sit down, invite them to your house. With a mask, of course, if you're going to do all of that. But it's really important that we just get the word out about this. So this is October 3rd, and it's online, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Afterwards, we are having a dope discussion afterwards with the HAPI cast members. And we have Philippe Matthews that's going to actually be hosting it, and he is like everything. So it's really important to, like I said, join the movement. Go to our website, hapifilm.com. Sign up for the newsletter. One went out today. It was jam-packed with a lot of good information. So it's important for you to join the movement, which means, subscribe to HAPI Talks, get your ticket for this Saturday. And if you can't get a ticket for yourself, or you've already seen it, get it to someone else, and sign up for the newsletter. Yeah.
And we talk about cooperative economics and supporting each other. This project is all produced with cooperative economics in mind.
Yes.
I want to give a special shout out to Tutti Films, the Black production company we use to embody, or we work with in terms of producing the film. The artwork on the shirts was done by Nubia and Nubia Apparel. Everything we do in terms of just our working together with Black influencers. So every time you support HAPI, you're really supporting the community in a big way, because all we do is keep the dollar circulating. It's so important for that. And we need to understand that, how important it is to support each other. So without any further ado, we want to introduce our guest tonight and have this powerful discussion on just the state of the race and cultural appropriation. So with that said, we're going to introduce Sistah Iminah and Jamaar Milton.
Hey.
Peace.
Peace.
So, before we get started, just want to kind of go back to where we started in terms of giving a special tribute to the ancestor, because we got to give, and we say this a million times, we're telling people almost all these interviews, heartbeat props, how important it is to give our elders these props while they're here. Now, everyone's going to be posting about it. Everybody's going to be talking about it, and that's great, too. We're giving respect to the ancestor, giving homage to the ancestor, but let's do it now. There's a lot of elders that's with us. Even when we talk about this project we worked on, everything was done in council with the elders. The whole concept of the film itself really kind of came about by sitting down and just talking to people like Professor Small, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Nobles, Mfudishi. These people we were, are close elders of mine, and we, really, it was all about the council. So we got to check on them. We got to make sure they're all right, and we got to support them. And supporting them, supporting Black. So, brother Jamaar, we're going to start with you in terms of just giving respect to the newly ancestor that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Uncle Mayat, greetings to everyone here. It's a pleasure being here. What I want to say is, every time an elder passes, an old African proverb, it says every time an elder transitions, it's like a library burns down. And, that's a profound statement and something to think about in terms of when we lose one of ours, or when one of ours ascends, I should say. In our culture, our elders are our foundation. We stand on their shoulders. Before we speak, if there's an elder in the room, we ask for permission. So it's one of those things that it's a part of life. It's a part of what we do. It's a part of the reason why we're here, is to come here, do our work, reincarnate, and understand our purpose at the same time, and pass that tradition down. So it's only right that we show our ancestors some love. So to her, on this day, we say Ashe, thank you for your work, thank you for your spirit, and it will remain as long as we continue to say your name in the land of the living.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Sistah Iminah.
Wow. Well, I remember speaking with you, Brother Taki, when you got the news, and just the energy I felt. And, I really was introduced to Dr. Newton's work through seeing the Hoppy films, and, just kind of getting introduced and acclimated to what someone has to offer, and then them transitioning, so suddenly, especially when I am, just becoming more immersed into this wonderful energy field that you all are creating with this Hoppy movement, I know is divinely aligned, even though it is very tragic. It's very sudden, very unexpected, and something that has shocked the community worldwide, because Dr. Newton really made such a global impact. So when she transitioned, I wanted to just look into more of, what her life and her legacy was. And it's just amazing in terms of the power that she brought to the fields, especially of psychology, and really fighting and being a true warrior queen to really merge the worlds of psychology and psychiatry, to really bring cultural relevance into the field of psychiatry, showing that it's all interconnected, and really helping us to understand our trauma through post-traumatic slave disorder and all of the generational trauma that we as the people here have experienced for the last 400 or 500 years. And her taking that and taking it around the world, and her, being the first woman that was the chair of the psychology department of John Hopkins, and all the other places that she was. And it's just like her not just even doing things for our community, but representing for women overall, and doing that from a place of being culturally rooted and taking this impact not only nationwide, but also worldwide. Her being installed as a chief, as a female king in Ghana, and, putting our legacy, our roots back, or Black in Africa, as I'd like to say. And her just really, making an impact, really founding the Baltimore branch of the Association of Black Psychiatrists, and just so many amazing things that she did, in addition to being a well of information, and really her being a, bringing the spirit of Hoppy in terms of the Nile, or the Hoppy, bringing so much life to the world. And so through her legacy, she brought so much life to the world and really inspired people. And so in the spirit of that, and just in the spirit of water, I want to say a verse from the Odu that talks about water, and how, water is something that is essential to our lives, is essential to our being. And so we want to look at ourselves as a people, and as our impact, we want to make an impact like water makes on the world, so that the greatness in all of us can manifest in the world. So, ela geja bomi tutunturum boye, abomi tutuntayeshi, ela geja bomi tutuntayeshi, kyo abawa tunile age tawashi, Mule. We meet water, bringing peace and comfort to this earth. And we ask that water continues to bring peace and comfort to our lives, that continues to keep us free from pain and strife. And we ask that just as water that flows from heaven leaves its mark on this earth, may we make our mark on our community, just as our dear warrior queen, elder, Dr. Patricia Newton, she made her mark on this earth. And so we ask that just as water did that, may we all be inspired by her life. Ashe.
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 So, Sister Iminah, with that, we're going to stay with you, and we're going to get this interview started. Thank you for the blessing. We appreciate that, and hopefully, and obviously that blessing to our great ancestor. With that, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Great opening question. I'm Sistah Iminah, from ghetto to goddess, from Oakland to Atlanta to the world. I'm live from Atlanta right now. I am an artist. I'm a recording artist, dancer, musician, singer, instrumentalist, percussionist, producer, songwriter. I'm also an educational leader, so I am leading school district, especially the Oakland School District, and we're working on things in the world to be able to help raise the educational practices of institutions from ghetto to goddess in terms of dealing with our youth on a level that is culturally relevant and really aligned to where we are and helping us to get to where we need to be. I'm also a cultural ambassador, so I'm an Ifa, I'm an Ifa priestess. I also was trained in a lot of the Kemetic practices and have worked with many elders in the community, such as Queen Afua, Dr. Shukasa Ma'at, many people in that realm. And so I just work to bring all of those things into what I do and to stay true.
Okay, Ashe, thank you. So before we move on to the brother Jamaar, the same question, essentially, one of the things I wanted to really say quickly is want to give a special shout out to one of the elders who's constantly supporting the HAPI movement. And that's Mr. John Staples. Definitely shout out, much love to this elder.
From Florida.
There's several others, but we definitely wanted to give him a special shout out tonight because I see him in the building and he's always with us. And like I said, we got to give them their heartbeat props. So Jamaar Milton, brother, peace.
Peace.
You tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Jamaar Milton, recording artist. I'm the CEO of the Lighthouse movement, which is a organization that we put together after my initial approach to the internet and just letting people follow my journey into consciousness. I haven't been into consciousness, for 20 plus years. I've only been in this for about 5 to 7 years, and people have gotten to just see my journey from the stoop, just a regular brother from the hood that woke up, that wasn't supposed to make it out. I'm a pastor's kid. Both my parents are both born again Christians, ministers, still to this day. And I didn't wake up to the age of 35. And most of my family members and friends, are still in that movement. So people watching and documenting my journey is what led me to where I am today. Just by simply sharing my thoughts and what I was feeling. So my destination is not the trophy; it's the journey that I've been going through over the course of my life, and just reinventing my whole paradigm, my whole universe, and tapping back into the source. I'm now a Kemetic priest at the Shrine of Ma'at under the tutelage of Jabari Osaze and Queen Anika, as well as a philanthropist. Through the Lighthouse, we've also done some work in Flint, Michigan, raised $11,000 with just regular people who were along the journey, as well as myself, that wanted to make a difference. And most importantly, it's just a community. I was going through it alone. When you wake up and you've been in Christianity your whole life, and you wake up and you're going through this process alone. I just said I don't want to see anybody have to go through what I had to go through by themselves in consciousness in this wake up process, because it could be even worse when you wake up and you don't have a support system. So the Lighthouse, the organization that we built, was basically a place where we can all network, where we can all find like-minded to where if you were somebody like me who was surrounded by people who wasn't awakened, you know, you have somewhere to go, you have somebody to lean on, you know, you don't have to feel like you're in this journey alone. So it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm just honored to even be here, to be mentioned amongst different names such as Queen of Fool and the people here. You know, it's just an honor knowing the work that they put in, you know, and the years that they put in. It's just I'm humbled.
Peace, peace. Thank you. You
Yeah.
know, so one of the things is, you know, we look around us and we're constantly bombarded by so much stuff in Hollywood. You know, obviously there's big questions about our black men being purposely effeminized by images we see. A lot of these programs, in terms of like things like you know, like Empire and other ones, there's these constant images being perpetuated towards us. Not only that, but also negative stereotypes towards black women, and just the overall just attack. So with that said, you know, I just really want to kind of ask this question. I'm start with you, Sister Iminah. Like, how effective can tools like music and television be when it comes to either the upliftment or the degradation of our people?
Thank you. Excellent question that has helped to form my mission. And that's something that me going on a life journey to answer this question is what led me into being and recognizing that I am a musician, that I have these gifts and talents to share with the world. The more that you know, learn about your history, the less that your purpose will be a mystery. And in understanding, okay, yes.
Yeah. You know, Professor Small, he always says that he got it from Dr. Wade Nobles, and so we hear this all the time. Yeah,
That's the mantra. That's the battle cry. You know.
Yeah.
That absolutely.
Right. It's a meditation.
Yes.
And so the more that I've been able to really study ancient African culture and civilization, and also living African cultures and civilization, because sometimes, you know, especially us as African Americans, or I like to call us born again Africans, we will, you know, sometimes romanticize African culture and not really understand that there's a lot that's still living, that may have been somewhat affected by colonialism and enslavement, but it's still there for us to access and like actively tap into. In being able to really tap in, I really got to understand a lot of these new age technologies in terms of sound healing, in terms of mantras, meditations, you know, using different instruments, sacred instruments. These are all essential components of African culture. So if you just look at like the empires of Mali, or you look at the Yoruba cultures, or if you look at you know, the Congo, you look in East Africa, Southern Africa, there were songs and instruments that were used when we were planting a new harvest. There were songs and instruments that we used when we were going to war. There were songs and instruments that were used to celebrate the birth of a new child, to heal people when they were sick. And those have always been embedded in our practices and something that we do. So even when we were forcibly removed from Africa, and those of us who were indigenous on this land and were forcibly removed from our homelands here, music was always an essential part of who we are. And that, I feel, is one of the only things that really enabled our ancestors to make it through the unimaginable horrors, pain, and just complete degradation of enslavement, was those Negro spirituals, which that comes from Africa. Even if we look at the phenomenon of rap and hip hop culture, that is really just us taking those unknown parts of ourselves that's stored in our DNA and bringing it into this world today. So when we look at music, African culture, and any indigenous culture around the world, it's always an essential component. But just like anything, water is something that can be used to hydrate you. You can also drown in water. You know, food is something that can heal you. It can sustain you. You can also have a food addiction. It can make you obese. It can kill you. It's all on how you use it. So music is a tool and something that we, you know, definitely need to understand that there's really power in it. And I think that became apparent, especially with the rise of hip hop, and how that was something that was totally off of the radar of white supremacy and the white supremacist structures that, you know, have been trying to rule the world through the false powers that they have. And so now that they got hip to, that's what we're using to liberate ourselves. They knew that we were in an economic disadvantage because they planned for things to be that way. And so they figured that, bringing economics into it and bringing the trickery into it that's been brought into it, that it can be, used just like you can use a gun to protect yourself or to hunt if you are a carnivore, etc. You can also use a gun to hurt people. And so I think music, arts, entertainment, words, media, all of those things, I don't think we should ever cast it out. It's just that stuff is bad. We just have to look at the fact that it's used for bad, but it also can be used for good. And so we just have to, reorient ourselves accordingly to really, utilize these vehicles that our ancestors left us to proceed.
Yeah.
Thank you for that piece. So, Brother Jamaar, we're going to come at it a different way with you. The sister touched on a lot of positive affirmations in terms of how these things can be used positively, especially from a cultural perspective and how our ancestors handle things. So from a contemporary standpoint, in terms of where we are today, how was these forms of media used to basically destroy us?
Well, I would say that, being in the music industry, from what I've seen is it's the corporations that are using, I would say, the attention spans that we are so desperately seeking right now. Attention is currency. So they know if they just keep feeding us the negativity, then we're going to be drawn into it. Now, but what I will say is this, it doesn't mean that the things that we see that are negative doesn't need to be shown in the form of art. We're not here to take away people's voice, because that could have an even worse effect, just as the sister kind of touched on a little bit earlier. We have to speak in terms of balance. It's not that we don't have conscious artists out here. It's the fact that they're not being heard. They're not being put on the mainstream. We have, even when we look at some of the hardcore rap, the hardcore hip hop, there's a place for that. And there's an age marker in which you should be allowed to listen to that type of music. There's a mentality and a spiritual connection you need to have in order to be able to interpret it properly. So it's not that we want to get rid of it, because we need to see our higher and our lower selves to understand where we are, to calibrate ourselves, because that's what this is. It's a calibration of us. When we see somebody doing something that we wouldn't particularly do, just the fact that we can understand it, it's a reflection of us. You see, because when children are innocent, they don't know what they're looking at. You see what I'm saying? Until it happens to them, until they experience it, they don't know what they're seeing. Adults understand what it's going through because that's them, in a sense. They've actually gone through it. They've been through that experience. It's a reflection of you. Like I tell people, when you get your, let's take for instance your Facebook page, right? When you get your Facebook page or your Instagram page, it's blank. It's blank. There's nobody there, no friends, no nothing. So if you see a bunch of negativity coming up and down your timeline, that's a reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
You understand me? People be saying, I see all of this going on, and I said, I don't have that going on in my timeline.
No. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so some of it is a matter of perception, but it's also a matter of the vibration that you give off. We got to remember that, when we're dealing with music is a vibration, right? People say, yeah, I like this song. It's a vibe. Yeah, vibe is short for vibration. You see what I'm saying? So when we listen to certain things, it's because we're tapped into it and we gravitate towards that vibration. That's an explanation of who we are. People like songs. They say, this is my song. Why? They personified that song. It's theirs now. They own it. You see what I'm saying? So it's not about that artist or what that artist is doing. It's about you. Did you gravitate towards that? What is that telling you about yourself? You see what I'm saying? That you connected with it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's how I see the music industry, because music, like she said, music can bring people. It can bring people together. It can tear people apart. It's a universal language. It's the language that put all of the universe together. In the beginning, no matter which scriptural text you want to take, whether you want to deal with any of the Abrahamic religions, whether you want to deal with Africa, it says that in the beginning, it was let there be light. It was let there be light. Light is a form of vibration. See what I'm saying? And it was a spoken word that did that. So everything that's here, that's held together, is held together by a sound, by a vibration. I'm saying 8 hertz to be exact. That's the vibration of the planet Earth. You see what I'm saying? So if we keep that science part in front of us that our ancestors left behind us, so we can understand the foundation and the infrastructure of how all things are held together, then all of the spookism that comes with it and the stuff that's there to trick us, the technology won't get us tripped up and caught to the point where we start judging other people and how they do things. You know what I'm saying? Because we could get caught up in that, and then what happens? Now we took ownership of that. We become that which what we hate. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, so music can be a powerful tool. It is a powerful tool, you know, regardless of whether we want to acknowledge it or not. It's always going to be there, and it will affect us. So so I'll say it's about balance, not so much of eliminating, you know, the negativity. Let's balance it out. We as African people, as American Africans, shouldn't always be seen in the negative light.
Right.
You know, we should be the ones on the forefront of inspiring music, and music that's, you know, that's upbeat and can make somebody feel good too. It shouldn't always be us being the ones that's, you know, even just music and the roles that we play in acting. We shouldn't always be the ones in the cop cars and running and gunning with the police. That shouldn't always be us.
Right.
You see, there's different representations. We could talk about slavery, or we could talk about when we was kings and queens. How do we want to represent ourselves?
Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's about balance more than it is anything.
Yeah, balance is definitely the foundation of the universe. And speaking of balance, you know, one of the things we want to say is people definitely like this video, share it, please. And also, you know, we got the Sistah Iminah on the line with us in the building. Definitely like and follow her, everything that she's doing. Also, the brother Jamaar Milton, definitely want to like their pages. Let's get that going. Let's support each other. Definitely want to put their stuff up so people can see it. You know, go ahead right now and like this video, share it. Also follow brother Jamaar Milton and Sistah Iminah. It's very, very important. I want to come back to you for a second, brother Jamaar. You said something really interesting, and it kind of just went right over. And I just want to come right back to that. You said attention is currency. You got to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you know, people are getting paid and making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the amount of attention that they can draw to their pages. You know, and this is some of the things that's going over our heads. So all of the stuff that we're watching, every time we look at something, it's being monitored. Whether you click like or not, your phone is actually registering how long you stay on that. You think that you're hiding, but you're not. Okay, the metadata is calculating exactly what you're into. See, people think that, you know, it's just a coincidence that you know, I was thinking about buying a lawnmower, and then all of a sudden all of these different advertisements for lawnmowers popped up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They're calculating these algorithms, and they're able to tell what it is that we like and what we don't like. You see what I'm saying? So, let me put these headphones on because I got an echo.
It was giving you more power.
Yeah, so you know, the things that we like are being calculated on a daily basis, and if we don't take heed that there is a system out there that is calculating all of this, we can find ourselves in precarious situations to where we don't realize we're being controlled. You see, and we think we're in control. See, the biggest thing that they can fool us with is the element of choice, or thinking that we have a choice. You see what I'm saying? When actually they drew us down this path. That's why the election is such a big thing, because, you know, they want to see what's working. You know, can we actually persuade their votes?
Right.
You know, can we put certain things, flash certain things on the screen, you know, such as our black boys being killed and our women being mishandled and things of that nature? Will it persuade their vote to vote for one person versus another? All of these things are being calculated on a daily basis. And, you know, you can pull up these records. And not only that, you can even if you're doing it the right way, you can find yourself into financial freedom if you're using it properly. You know, within the next 2 days or so, even the Facebook pages, they're being monetized. People are making money on this. You know, some of us don't know it, you know, but I guarantee you the people that created it and the majority of the white population in the time, who they know. You know, they're making their money. They're millionaires. They're traveling the world doing what they got to do despite COVID, you know, because they're still making money online for our attention, you know, and it's always been that way. It started with just television. They was making making money on ratings. So, you know, we need to learn how to start capitalizing on things before they colonize the whole situation, and then we get cut out of the deal. Because when we come in there with a spiritual sense of it, with righteousness and dignity, and we doing things in order, and you know, we're not going to lead our people down a crazy path. But if we let them control it, they're only going to feed us the things that will keep them in control. So it's important that we learn these sciences. It's important that we learn that it really does exist, that attention is currency. It's the new money, and learn to capitalize it. The fiat money is going to be a distant future real soon. Everything's going to be just digital. What you're looking at, who can draw the most crowd. You know, that's what it is. How many likes, views, and comments? You say, oh yeah, you're doing this for likes, views, and comments. That's the new money. That's the new money. If you have 2 million followers, if you post a product, chances are you're going to get more people to buy your product than somebody with 20. That's basic math. You see what I'm saying? So, we got to start, we got to wake up and get tuned to this, because it's a very, very real thing. And I'm seeing people, go into financial freedom by utilizing these strategies and understanding them. A lot of things that we look at, even the taxes, we look at the president and say he ain't paying no tax. He pays $750 worth of taxes. Well, Donald Trump been a boss. He's been a boss his whole life. He understands the system. It's not that he's a crook. He understands how the system works, and he's just finagling the system. You see what I'm saying? But we don't want to actually tune into it and realize that this is how America was built. It was built on business. Your name is a business. Your tag, everything. Your social security. It's about money. That's what we're here for in America. Now, if you're in another country, okay, you could talk all that. But here in America, you're a business, whether you like it or not. So you're either going to be the employee or the employer. Which one you want to be? So that's where we at with it.
Yeah,
Right.
Jamar. Yeah, Jamar. It's funny that you say that, and I always think about, like, when I first started talking to people about deductions, and so many people thought that I was like making stuff up. They're like, "No, I'm not trying to go to jail." I'm like, no. The whole object of when you do your taxes is for you to write off everything. And the beautiful thing about the tax law is that you can write off everything. And now with President whatever his name is, only paying $750. Like, now this should be an incentive for us to read the tax law. Yeah.
If you're uneducated about it, then you're just gonna look at it as like, oh, he's a crook. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, no. That is like the best evidence of using tax law to help you.
I didn't learn this until I actually opened up my business when I started the Lighthouse, and I had to pay taxes, with the Lighthouse, things of that nature. And something happened with my Beamer, and I went to BMW. They rape you with parts and stuff like that. But I'm in and I'm talking with one of the gentlemen, a brother, and he said, let me tell you something. He said, everybody that comes in here and they buy these cars, he said, they're not buying it with their own money. He said, they all got businesses. Okay. And he's right off. He said, that's how they get it. And I see them when they come in here. And he'll put me on the game. I said, get out of it. He said, bro.
It sounds foreign. Yes.
Yeah. It was a foreign language to me because I wasn't a business owner at the time. But if you're a business owner, then you know what's going on. And now you adjust accordingly. You see what I'm saying? So this is game gift wrap. Anybody that's watching, if you don't know, that's how he was able to pay that $750 because he was from the time he was a sperm. You see what I'm saying? So we got to get up on it.
Yep. And the beautiful thing about your car is you can keep writing it off every year.
That's right. Mileage and everything.
Yeah. So
dinners that you have, with your staff, it could be your friends. Your friends is your staff or your family. You hire your family. Now when you sitting down eating dinner, that's a business meeting.
Right. Exactly. Yep. You in Mexico, Tulum, talking. Now it's a business meeting. It's a business trip.
Got to know the game.
Yeah, know the game. Knowledge is definitely power. So damn, we've been just to give y'all a little context with this, how this interview shaped or came into being. I've been, conversation with brother Jamar and Sistah Iminah for some time about putting this together. It was delayed for some time, but this is definitely a powerful conversation. Like we said before, definitely like and share and follow the guests. Extremely important, essential. We want to get this going. Like the brother said, attention is currency. Don't be afraid of other Black people making money because it only helps the Black community. Because Black people are going to tend to spend money with people who look like you, those who are closest to you. It's so important. And Black people, we got to learn how to do business with each other. So supporting Sistah Iminah, supporting Jamaar Milton is essential. Supporting Hoppy is essential. But, we was talking about the degradation of just images and culture and things like that. So right now we're dealing with this whole thing with this WAP culture. And we just want to see how, when I think of things like the WAP culture and I say, well, I look at like the minstrel shows, the blackface minstrel shows. Is there a connection with that? Is there a connection in terms of how the portrayal of this, like then and now, and can we actually kind of go with them together in terms of just their negative effect? Sistah Iminah, we're going to start with you. So what do you think about that?
Well, I definitely know that there is a concerted agenda and effort to program our community a certain way. And that is something that has been in development ever since we were forced into slavery on this land. All of our movements, and that's really a huge thing that even separates the African American community from, say, the Jamaican community or people in, Brazil and Haiti, people who were enslaved other places, is that America, especially because we were a planned minority here and there was an influx of like a large population of Europeans brought here, our movements and our cultural growth was controlled from day one. Once they realized, once we had the first few revolts and they, made the change from us being brought here as indentured servants to then making slavery based on skin color and inherited through the mother status, our culture was controlled and colonized from that time. And so that's something that has never stopped. And I feel like during that time, it was like a love-hate relationship on a deep level because they, loved everything about us, but they hated the fact that we were the ones bringing it and not themselves. And so that's even where I feel like the whole minstrel phenomenon happened, because they really, hated the fact that we are full of so many gifts and so much talent and so much love directly from the Most High and so much creative genius, that they blackened their face in wanting to really, have some type of connection with that. And then that allowed them to, psychologically step into our shoes and, portray us in the way that they felt that they saw us. Moving forward, as we started taking control of more of our art forms, from bebop, from the blues to bebop to jazz to, rock and roll, when we started that, to soul, to funk, to hip hop, reggae, all of these things, like every time that we do get controlled or we find ourselves in a corner, we continue to rise, we continue to ascend past that. But where I think the mark was missed again was when economics was brought into the picture and people were able to start getting huge record deals. And it went from, just being an artist and coming out with powerful music to you want to get signed. You want to have this whole bling bling culture. You want to be able to now make it rain. You want to be able to cash out and, get flued out, all these things. Not really understanding that that is all part of the game. Just like how most of our youth are trained and programmed to want to become either a rapper, a basketball player, or an NFL player, or a gangster, or to be a girlfriend or a side chick or something of that. And so just making our whole value system changed. So where we are right now in terms of just looking at how this whole WAP phenomenon has developed, I'm someone who I feel like I was an expert in that mindset before it really became popular culture. And that is really what From Ghetto to Goddess is about, is really, speaking to my journey, because I grew up in the early 2000s when, when Little Kim came out, I was like in elementary school. Little Kim, Foxy Brown, then, looking at Eve and people like that. Then when Trina came on the picture, that like created a real change in terms of even how Black women communicated and saw themselves. And it was kind of an energy of, we've been degraded by these men for so long. We've been used and abused that, we now want to turn into the users and abusers. And so that became like a popular mentality. And then, coming to Atlanta when the strip club culture was really developing and bubbling, and there was a, who I feel are really the progenitors of what we even see as the club culture, the trap culture, the strip club culture, is a group called BMF, which that was the Black Mafia family. Which, if you don't know who they are, you're not familiar with them, I definitely suggest people just research them and just look at that whole setup in terms of the lifestyle that they were able to live, and also the legacy that they left in terms of them having access to large amounts of drug money and having the kind of lifestyle where they could go into the strip club. I remember the first time I went out with, the BMF crew in Atlanta, and just seeing them walking in the door, as much money as my parents made in a month, that I'm seeing my parents sitting at the table, struggling, writing out their bills. And then I'm out, my first time really out, 17 years old, coming to Atlanta for college. And my whole perception of life was changed within an hour with seeing, just people with, millions of dollars worth of jewelry on, spending thousands of dollars at clubs, buying these boxes of champagne. We're going out and it is rows of every luxury car you could ever think of, all black. Everybody has on black t-shirts, jewelry, and just like that is a lifestyle. And these were people that came from different cities nationwide and converged in Atlanta. And they even had billboards here. When you came from the airport, they were welcoming you to the city. Like, it's on that level. And so that power, that presence, that influence, they also influenced a lot of celebrities. So a lot of people that you saw come out of that, such as Young Jeezy or Gucci Mane, made it possible for people like Migos, like Future, like Cardi B, like City Girls, and like all of these, Dream Dog, Cash Dog, all of these people are coming from that legacy, that foundation that was laid in terms of creating a certain culture and a certain perception of what our culture should be in the club scene, which then is reflected in the hip hop scene because people are wanting to emulate that and they want to be that. So I'm somebody that, I think I got my PhD in the club in college. And I was fully immersed in that, even though I came from a conscious background growing up. Once I was exposed to certain things, my entire lifestyle and perception changed until I found myself wrapped up in the strip clubs of Atlanta and really in that whole underworld lifestyle that has now become something that's a standard of what a lot of our youth aspire to. If they want to feel like they're being successful or doing some big things, they want to be that. So I was an insider in that, and I saw, the good, so-called good side. I also saw the bad side in terms of when, the feds did decide to just pull the whole operation down, and seeing so many people go to jail, so many people's lives ruined, so many people, families broken up, forever. And you going from being, the biggest boss I could ever imagine to now you in a jail cell, struggling, have nothing to show for yourself, and the streets are dry. And then I saw the whole rise of people. Then if you want to feel like you are doing something, you want to emulate that. So that's why, especially in Atlanta, there's so many scammers here and so many people that do whatever to act like they have this lifestyle that I really think was kind of set up by the government kind of from jump to create this cultural phenomenon, when you really look at it. So I would really, it is smoke and mirrors, like we've seen in the comments. It was real smoke and mirrors. So I saw both sides. I lived both sides. And that's what inspired me to really go on my spiritual journey and understanding how I got to that point, and also how the majority of our people are brought to that point, and then what we can do to reorient ourselves. Because even in myself, I went from one extreme to the other, where, going out, clubbing 7 days a week, traveling everywhere, to then, basically being a, Kemetic nun for some years, and a Ifa Yoruba nun for some years, and then realizing like, you can't be all the way on this side. You also can't necessarily be all the way on that side. You gotta be in balance. So y'all will still see me turning up, going to the club, you follow me on Instagram, I love to have a good time. But it's how that good time is aligned. And so that is kind of a new frontier, even for us as the, quote unquote conscious community, is really knowing that, like, we can't act like things don't exist and like we all don't like part of it. I know each and every one of y'all on here and everybody watching loves to enjoy life and have fun, but that can't be the only goal and our only purpose in living is to do that. And we also can't remove ourselves from like just human things that all humans love to do. So in that, just looking at how our culture has been oriented, just to circle it back and bring it back to that closing answer of the question, it's really, our culture has been colonized for a purpose, and it's because the power in it is apparent. And so where we are right now is using the tools and mediums that we have to just keep forging that new frontier and making our purpose clear.
Face. Thank you for that. Brother Jamar, just doing some research and going through some of your things on your feed, I see that the Black minstrel show is something you talk about frequently. And I just want you to kind of the same question. It's kind of just thinking in terms of then and now, would you consider WAP culture have the same negative effect as some of those things we saw back in the early 20th century?
That's a good question. I would say that it's two different demographics that we're dealing with here with the minstrel show and the WAP. The minstrel show, the minstrel shows were mainly meant to keep out Black entertainers from infiltrating the system, because they were talented. They wanted to keep them out from infiltrating the system of Hollywood and what they were beginning to set up, which we see now is crumbling. So it was a little bit different demographic than the WAP situation. The WAP situation, they're already in control, and they're now orchestrating their agenda. They didn't want them in there in the first place to even try to control them, because you remember they were fighting to keep Black people away from them. We're the ones who fought for integration and to be allowed in their stores and to be be able to be in the movie theaters and stuff like that. Like, that wasn't their agenda. So when I look at the WAP situation, I see it from a different eye, because coming from an African spiritual sense, I always stay in tune with the ancestors, and I always look at myself as if I'm here in America, but I'm actually I'm an African, okay, and an ancient African mindset. And they weren't afraid of tits and ass. They weren't afraid of that. They walk around to this day butt naked. See, the problem here in America is that they've over sexualized us as beings. We had fertility deities. If you look at the ancient Kemetic deity Min, he had a phallus that was erect, and they would bring offerings to this deity. And it still exists to this day. It's one of the deities. So it wasn't that we were afraid of sex or even things of sexual nature. It's that there was a spiritual and ritualistic event that was happening when they were doing these things. They were maiden and wives who would walk around with their breast out, and they would dance for the kings and things of that nature. And these things were going on since forever. And they would be rewarded with fruit and being able, to lay with royalty and stuff like that. These are things that have always been going on since the beginning of time. The problem is that we're not controlling it, and there's no spiritual cognizance to it. And now people have to do it in order to even survive. To get a hamburger, you got to shake some tail. So it's a little bit different because we're colonized here. We're in a land, in a foreign land, trying to find what looks familiar to us. We've seen this before, but it was done with under different circumstances. So trying to find home is a rough situation because they keep giving us these devils, these facades, these things that look like and feel familiar to us, but not are the same. Even with our food, it tastes like it's a watermelon, but it's not a water. It doesn't even have seeds in it. Everything is fake. So they can use that. They're using our ancient DNA and tricking our ancient DNA into thinking that this is something that we ought to be doing. So I think if we first restored the respect that women have for their bodies, first and foremost, and that men have for the queen of heaven, for what we used to call heaven. Heaven was between a woman's legs. That's what used to be considered heaven. If we restored those things and understood the power of the divine feminine and the divine masculine and what they are to be doing together, and restoring that overall principle, then we can't be fooled by the facade and the matrix that they built for us, to shuck and jive for them, for pennies. pennies on the dollar, because these guys are super rich, so they can throw that money around because it's nothing. It's pennies to them, So menstrual versus WAP, I think, is two totally different things, because menstrual, they didn't want us there. WAP, we've already gotten there, and now they're using it to the best of their ability. They didn't know what to do with hip hop when it got there. They was talking, that bebop music. They didn't want that there either. But then they realized, okay, we can put some money into this and we can take control of it. So once they have control of it, now it's a whole different ball game that they're playing, because now we're theirs, as opposed to being a pest. Now we're a guest. It's a little bit different. So yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of that. I think the reason why it was so crazy, and because like she said, when you had to deal with Little Kim, there were songs that were way worse than that, and me growing up, way worse than WAP. Even video content, way worse than WAP. Even movies, way worse than WAP. What Halle Berry did in, what was that, Monster Ball? That was way worse than watching WAP. You see what I'm saying? So when I look at WAP, I just see voluptuous women. I see black women, and that don't daunt me. Our women have curves. We see that every day with white women. Nobody said that about Pretty Miss Lady Marmalade, and they was dressed in lingerie for the whole video. The only reason why it's a problem is because our women are the deities of this planet. You see what I'm saying? And we have a standard that we hold ourselves to. If it was a white woman standing in front with a Budweiser standing in front of a fancy car, nobody would care, because she ain't got no curves to her. But you put the same black woman in that same outfit, it's going to be an issue. You see what I'm saying? So we got to look at it from the lens of an African mindset and stay there, because it's so easy to get tricked. It's so easy because this is all we see every single day. So, that's why I put like my backgrounds and stuff, and just make sure I keep some things around me to keep me tapped in, because, just quick, you could get caught up, and you forget that you're not an African American, you're an American African. You see what I'm saying? It's different. It's a difference between the adjective and the noun. We are Africans. You see? So, that's how I see those two totally different demographics, two totally different arguments and discussions.
So when I look at, the first thing I was going to say was that I was going to definitely compliment you on that background. Is a dope background. I find myself feeling like I'm in the now right now, just looking at it, and being like, damn, wish I can kind of just be there right now.
Yeah.
Well, there, it's here.
No, absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I'm talking about just physically, that's not a part of my just constantly going back and forth. So that's a place I need to get to really soon, or get back to soon. So minstrel shows, a lot of times when we watch them, or not when we watch them, when they were implemented, not necessarily the discussion, but the narrative was a very negative portrayal of Black people.
Yeah.
So in terms of the comparisons, the negative portrayal, and that's where, for me, the question was going. Can we look at that negative portrayal and look at negative portrayals today and see if there's a similarity there in terms of just saying, hey, you know what? We have to be real careful not to fall in the trap of so-called white superiority and how they depict us, how we depict ourselves, because it's the same way almost they would always these negative characters. We saw them, obviously with the cartoons, things with Bugs Bunny, stuff like that. All these negative characters, those are just minstrel shows. We know the story. Malcolm told us they made us hate Black. So are we falling into that trap? And that's really essentially.
Well, I'll say this, right? Not to interrupt you. If you look at the minstrel, right, that's them doing what they do, right? So they're gonna do what they do. I'm not. See, you know what I'm saying? Like WAP. That's us. That's that's us dressing like that and saying those lyrics and presenting that on TV. You see,
right.
The minstrel, that's them painting and trying to be like us.
Right.
We trying to be like them, and they're trying to be like us.
Right. I would say that definitely, I feel now we're experiencing a projection of what they created in the minstrel shows, whereas they, during that time, they created this fake persona that they, wanted to disrespectfully associate with us. I feel like what's happening right now is that the persona has been like forcibly implanted on us to where we are acting out and doing it, you know, more than they could, because it is us, and because our culture has been so separated and disassociated from us that we think that that is our culture. And, you know, we think if they give us this program list, they write these lyrics, because that's the whole thing about this WAP situation, right? I want to know how this concept was created. I want to know who even brought these two together. I want you know what I'm saying? Like, who really created the concept for the video? All these things, I know neither one of them did it.
Right.
Even if they did it, we know that they didn't do it. And there's also a real phenomenon happening right now to where most of the, you know, artists that are like promoted to be kind of the highest artists right now are either not Black or they're like barely Black. So if you look at Cardi B, she is fully immersed in a Black-ish aesthetic, but if she really starts talking, she will admit that she is not Black. But she's someone who, even with her, you know, her and Sleepy Joe doing that interview and all that, right? She was there representing the Black community, but you're really not Black, but you're colonizing this Black space. And that I look at her as like a modern day minstrel. If you even look at most of the top white artists now, Justin Timberlake, Adele, Pink, all of these artists, they came out, Pitbull, they came out with a Black aesthetic and really taking on a whole Black persona. Jennifer Lopez, you know, we can continue going down the list. I'm willing to bet money, no more than $5, but I'm that Cardi B is going through a divorce right now. She's probably going to do a J-Lo in terms of coming in through our community, representing all these negative things, but you're taking ownership of it and you're saying this is us and you're representing it. And then when you reach a certain level of success, then you're disassociating yourself with the community. When Pitbull came out, and he's a white Cuban Latino, he had braids. He was running with Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and the Yin Yang Twins and all of that. Now he is bald, he is only habla español.
And he's hosting a new New Year's Eve party every year, like on CBS or ABC or something like that.
He has arrived. You look at J-Lo, she ain't Jennifer the Block no more.
No.
She ain't, you know, her Diddy can't reach her with a you know what I'm saying? Like it's not going down. So I see, you look at people like Pink, Justin Timberlake, like all these people. That is another level of the minstrel show. Adele, what's the girl's name? Rita Ora, who they just realized they thought she was mixed. All of these people who are now supposed to be the top artists, even in the white spaces, they come in with that minstrel type of energy. They're going to represent just enough of the Black community, but they're also going to reach a level and disassociate with the foolishness. Whereas any Black artist that wants to make it, they only are limited to this little box in terms of what they can talk about. And just looking at our radio stations, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel enough attention has really been paid into like the mass programming in terms of, you know, what happens on all the Clear Channel owned radio stations and what they choose to play in the morning, what's happening in the afternoon, what they're playing in the old school traffic jams, and even what's considered the old school songs that we're representing. And then the whole Quiet Storm phenomenon, where they're really conditioning and programming us in terms of even what Black love looks like. I realized after I was negatively impacted by all those things, how great of an impact that had on my psyche in terms of me going to sleep every night and I'm turning on the radio to go to sleep and I'm thinking it's relaxing music. Now I realize, like, I was listening to R. Kelly, you know what I'm saying? All these people that I'm just thinking love is bump and grind, knocking boots. You know, don't make me come break out your windows, out your car, and all these things. And I'm thinking that is Black love. So I think that's like an elevation. I feel like the minstrel show, just like racism, white supremacy, it started out as, you know, Rotary And, you know, you turn in the wheel, then it got electric power, and now it's on Bluetooth. You don't see the cord, but it's working better than ever. So that, I just wanted to throw that back in terms of the minstrel show. I think it is elevated to a place where it's embedded and it has all these different branches that are manifesting that still, you know, are the cultural current of America, which in turn becomes the cultural current of the world, because unfortunately, American culture runs the world.
Wow, thank you for that. So just shift gears. Felicia, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Just a quick question for Sister Iminah. So, you know, you said something, and I was thinking when you said just for us to make it, and I was like, okay, you know, what does it mean? Or do you think that when we're talking about, you know, as Black artists, making it, like, what does making it look like? Because if we're talking about making it in terms of like, you know, white goals, then I don't, you know, we'll probably never get there. But if making it is maybe defined by our culture, then, you know, then maybe it's just something, you know, just something to think about in terms of like this make it thing. So I guess my question to you is that what, you know, and both of you guys, in terms of making it, like, what does making it mean to you?
I say for me, I've definitely defined making it in a cultural context, given where I am culturally, spiritually, in my value system, and like the impact I want to have on the world. So I'm looking in terms of how I can be a deep influencer of our culture and also our cultural conversations and our cultural manifestations. So I'm looking at, you know, when I'm putting things out, how many people can I touch when I'm putting on events? You know, get past this little COVID thing. I mean, I'm in Atlanta now, so events are happening still here anyway. But like, how are people's lives being elevated by my work?
Yeah,
My art becoming essential to people's healing and to their elevation. How is my story impacting what they do? How, because I'm an artist, I'm also an educational leader. So how can I impact the school system? What laws and what school board codes am I able to change? Like, how are those things happening, and what is my cultural currency? So I'm not concerned, like, none of my music or my intention is to get a label deal, to get a record deal. That used to be making it. And I think some people, a lot of people still have that, but I'm just looking at like, how can I have my influence, my network, my following to where I could really be a good leader and really elevate the legacy.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my personal definition.
Yes.
Wow, that's powerful. So I think same question for you, Brother Jamaar.
Yeah, make it.
I was just to veggie back off of what she's saying, you know, is exactly just that, you know, according to the Kemetic legacy, you know, Veggie's like, yeah, you know, you die twice, you know, you die when your physical body dies, and you die when the person in the land of the living, the last person says your name, you know. So, you know, for me is after I'm gone here, you know, what I'll be spoken of, you know, my legacy that I'm going to leave behind, you know, the lives that I've affected, like she said, you know, the people that will speak well of me when I'm gone, the conversations and the things that I've done that people don't know have happened. They won't find out until I'm gone. You know, what does that look like? What does that sound like? That means more to me than anything. You know, how my family is affected. You know, how I prepare them for my absence. You know, that's making it for a man, for divine masculine is, you know, are your sons prepared for your absence? You know, is your queen okay if you're no longer here? You know, those are the things to me that measure my success, you know, and whether I have made it or not. And then last but not least, in the fight that we've been fighting for many years, you know, if I'm free, you know, but my brother is not free, then I have not done what I'm supposed to be doing. My job is not finished. So I see it as, you know, that, you know, if I reincarnate back here, will I be in that same place? You know, and when I could have affected that change long ago, you know, from another lifetime, you know. So, you know, those are the things that I think about in terms of success and you know, life everlasting. You know, the being the ma'akeru, being true of voice. You know, those are the things that I would put on that list as well.
Okay.
Peace, peace, peace. And with that, we want to just kind of stay right here and talk about, because we're speaking about culture and kind of making it, and how I guess these two are in line. So with that said, could you please, Brother Jamaar, share your thoughts and your vision on how we can incorporate our culture to not only entertain but also to uplift our people?
Yeah. First and foremost, knowledge itself is exactly just that. We all have an individual responsibility, an individual role to play. We all have an individual genius level of talent that we have been blessed with, that we need to tap into, locate, find, and cultivate. I think many of us have gotten into the misconception that we ought to be living vicariously through others, even in terms of our spiritual walk.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what you need to get to where you need to go for the time that you're going to be here. A lot of times people feel like, you need to read this book. If you haven't read this book, then you ain't tapped in. If you ain't seen that documentary, you ain't tapped in. If you
Hoppy.
Yeah.
You're not tapped in, you ain't Hoppy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's so many different things that people can throw on you. Knowledge is infinite. You see what I'm saying? And for me in my walk, and it was so crazy when I had got this revelation, because I'm like, I haven't been in the conscious community for that long. So when I look at my life, I say, I spent 35 years in Christianity. So what is it that makes me different from everybody else? Well, can't nobody tell me about Jesus. There's nothing you can tell me. I know every verse that you're gonna spit at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that you can tell me about that book. You know what I'm saying? So I can sit down and break down the Bible, in the mentality of people who have been in it for that long. Most people who've been in it for that long don't make it out. They stay in it for the rest of their life. So for me to be able to transition my life into something new and to be better than the man that I was when I was in it, I looked at myself and I said, don't discredit yourself, because there was times where I said, you know what, I'm starting all over, and you could get depressed after that. But I said, you know what? No, like, this is your strength, So everybody has their own individual talent that nobody can do. I can't be a Felicia better than Felicia. See what I'm saying? I can't be Amina better than she can. You see what I'm saying? So this is who you are. So I think for us as a people, we have to first tap into our divine selves, knowledge of self first, knowledge of self. Then once we have that, now we realize what our gift is, and we now have to give that back. Exactly. So that someone else can find it for themselves, not for them to follow you and to make a new Messiah. You see, because a lot of people, after I wake them up, they say, yo, you my new teacher. No, I'm your brother first. I'm your brother. Don't fall into the Messiah complex, so you go from one deity to the next, and you never make it to where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be that divine source that you go to. It's you. It's been you all along. And don't lose sight of that, because now that you've woken up, that person that woke you up becomes your new Messiah now. That's the only person you listen to. You only read the books they recommend. It's just, that's what happens to us. So I think finding yourself, tapping into it, cultivating it, and now giving that gift, that genius level of talent that you have, give that back to the world. I've been a musician since I was 4 years old. 4 years old, masterful on the drums, masterful on guitars and keyboards and things of that nature. That was my gift. It doesn't matter what walk of life that I'm going to be in, I can do that. I don't care if I'm talking about envelopes and candlesticks. I'm going to be able to do that through music. So I think that's what it is. Find what is it? Do you make chocolate houses? What is it that you do that nobody else can do like you? What is it that you do when you do it alone? For some reason, it's successful. When you involve other people, for some reason, it don't work. But when you do it and you do it by yourself, it always seems to work out. You see, that's your genius level of talent. It was meant for you. You see what I'm saying? So getting tapped into that, building yourself up, you're doing us a justice. You can't help nobody if you can't help yourself. You see what I'm saying? How you going to teach me how to be the better self, and you haven't found your divine self yet?
Right. Peace. So just in terms of your artwork and your experiences being an artist and a musician, how were you able to bridge that? How were you able to take the culture and use it to not only entertain but also to uplift? Like, what's your secret on doing that? Because that seems to be the disconnect that we find a lot of times. So we want to give the world the world your secret, or if you care to give your secret on that, then we want to show some of the stuff that you do and showcase your talent. So if you could just quickly, briefly elaborate on just how you were able to bridge that, bringing the culture into the music to uplift and to entertain.
Music, and music is vibration. It's a sound. It's a language. It's a language. It's like somebody. Can you say that in Spanish? Can I tell somebody that I love them through music versus through word or through writing through a poem? It's just that simple. It's a language, and once you learn it, you become fluent in it like anything else. You see what I'm saying? So no matter what I'm doing, I can put it through music because that's the way I choose to speak. You see, some people will take that talent and they choose not to speak it. If you don't use it, you lose it. If I took you out of Puerto Rico and you Spanish, yeah, but you've been living in America your whole life. You Puerto Rican by blood, but you don't know the language. Are you still Puerto Rican? You see what I'm saying? So people gonna look at you ain't no real Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. You see what I'm saying? So it's to out of the abundance of the heart, and this comes from my teaching. Out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak, right? And it's the same thing. It's an expression. Music is in my heart. So that's what I'm able. That's why I'm able to express it in any type of way, any shape, form, or fashion. It's therapeutic for me. It gets to that point when you've been doing it so long. It's like somebody who's been smoking cigarettes their whole life. Like you ain't gonna be able to get them to put that thing down. This is what I do. I don't know how to do it any other way. Since I was introduced to it, I never put it down. So the key is, putting your heart into it, and don't be afraid. Don't allow somebody to say, "Oh, that's whack." No, it's not. That's my heart. Right? So it's just not meant for you. It might be meant for somebody else. Go and find those people because they're there. 7.8 billion people in the world. You can't find a million people. You can't find 100,000 to be on the same page as you. I'm sure you wasn't under a rock your whole life. There's something that you shared in common with other people and they went through the same things. Don't be afraid to express those things. Put them in the record. The reason why my records are able to uplift people is because when I go to the record, I go to it with that intention. I want to uplift people. So I'm going to do the due diligence when I say these bars and I put these words together. I'm going to make sure that that's what it's doing, if that's what I intend to do in this moment. Sometimes it's just to express myself. It all depends. But it's a language.
Right. Peace. All right. So we just wanted to kind of just show some of the some of your one of your videos real quick to kind of share people some of the some of your gifts and some of your talents in terms of your communication skills, in terms of just uplifting people.
King shit. Huh. Man, it's only right I rise. I was born in the fall. My mama and my daddy rode in separate cars. Next time me and him spoke, I was 24. Them boys hard to reach behind them prison walls. Crack error, the proof in his eyes. In this world can't survive institutionalized. The streets will swallow you up like a wolf in disguise. Nowadays, hard to separate truth from the lies. So now I'm on a mission for the people. May your well wishes be equal and your enemies beneath you. The Hennessy is lethal. Be easy on that needle. I pray your heart is real like a Hebrew. We need you. I'm cooking up that work in the lab to supplement it. You know me from that work in the past. It's been a minute. I drop a couple verses. Pastors and the bishops be nervous. Your boy put a hurt in on religion. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. This that work for the serving out the kitchen. You lurking, just know I'm alert and in position. The son of a sauce, so my purpose about to click in. It's Alhamdulillah when Jamal is back to mixing. I'm way too Marcus Garvey for pimping parties. Too Malcolm Xing to be out here flexing. Too much the youth is running In the streets, never Saturday, Jehovah Witness. We gotta bridge the gap, deliver the facts. As simple as that, they into that, it's bigger than rap. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. When all these days are gone, we'll walk up to the sun. Just that much. When all
Wow, that was very deep. Thank you for sharing that video with the world. Dope song. It was definitely. And when we think of your, the work that you're doing, like the Lighthouse, one of the things we just kind of, you touched on some of it earlier. Just want you to reiterate some of that because it's really important. Tying the two in, the work with actually the action and the music and all these things together. Just talk about the Lighthouse for us again briefly, please.
Man, the Lighthouse is just a special group. It's my family. I don't know where I would be without the Lighthouse. That's my support system. I really don't care what anybody else thinks in terms of criticism unless the Lighthouse is saying it. You know what I'm saying? The Lighthouse, they really brought me through. When I was alone. I literally, when I woke up, I had locked myself in the room for 6 months straight, and I didn't do nothing but just read books and just meditate and and just edify myself and rebuild my infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? I had lost a lot of family members, friends, all that type of stuff when I was waking up. You could have just imagined, when you're a pastor's kid and that's what you've been living your whole life, and you just say, I'm denouncing this, I'm done. So the Lighthouse, they're there for me and I'm there for them. You know what I'm saying? They're just a special group of people that wanted to share the same visions that I had. Like what you see in that video that was my life. I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to see if the things that I was reading about and the things that I was watching were real, because I didn't believe anything anymore. I said, I'm booking a flight. I don't care. I need to go and see if this place is real, and if these people are black and if they built this thing, if this is ours, because I need to reclaim it. I need to see if I'm going to get tapped in the way that I've heard, so that video was documenting that. I said, I want to be the first artist to bring you inside of the pyramids. Nobody's ever done it. And these people have millions and millions of dollars. I said, that's what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And I've had people tell me, they don't like black people and black men in Africa, and they don't like black Americans. I had all of those things told me before I went there, and I had nothing but good experiences. And when I pulled up, me and my wife, and we went there, it was the best experience I've ever had in my entire life. And so now I have a story, to tell. Like, listen, home is there. Like, just so like all of this that we be going through, you don't really have to go through this. Like, for real, you could go back home when you feel like it, and they will welcome you, regardless of what you heard, So, the Lighthouse is just, they're my support system. It's who they are. And that's my family in a nutshell. Nothing more, nothing less. That's who they are.
Right. Sistah Iminah, peace. So, pretty much, you're just kind of keeping it flowing, keeping it moving in terms of just, your vision. Please explain or express or share your vision in terms of how we can incorporate culture into entertainment that can uplift and also entertain.
For me, culture is essential to any entertainment, because anything that you produce is going to represent your mindset, it's going to represent your values, it's going to represent like who you are and also who you would like to be, and that creates culture. So I feel like art imitates life and life imitates art. For me as an artist, the more I actually got into culture, really understanding our legacy in terms of being a born-again African, and then understanding just the power of African culture and African spirituality, it really, first, I became an activist. And, like that's how me and Taki realized we had a lot in common, was, through my work with WADU, World African Diaspora Union, and like doing so many activism-oriented things. And then I got into more public speaking. So, shout out to Professor Griff, Red Pill, Blue Pill, Black Dot, all, Dr. Umar back in the day, all those people who I started like on the circuit with as an orator and speaking. And then it got to a point where I realized, like, people are going to listen to you, but really music is what moved me the most. And so really being introduced to Fela Kuti and Afrobeat, and then also really because I'm of a Jamaican ancestry as well. My father's Jamaican, half my siblings are born and raised there. So really understanding, and I'm also second generation Rastafarian. That's why my name is Iminah instead of Amina. Even though I don't have locks, people don't realize that's a big part of my, understanding why I'm even in a peace and love vibration. Bob Marley's music and just Rastafari and, spiritual music that became what we know as reggae, and just how Afrobeat and reggae really changed the world. And both of those were art forms that really incorporated communicating where we come from as a people, and also orienting us in the direction that we need to go and where we need to grow. So for me, when I just, went through journeys and, my younger days, I'm still young, but, much younger days of evolving and going through my evolution, once I really became solidified, committed to my spiritual path and my spiritual growth, it's like my musical gifts just opened up on a whole other level, and it's taken me on a very deep journey to where, literally last year, 2019, I was able to travel the world on tour with Seun Kuti, Fela Kuti's son, and then also on tour with Tony, which is legendary R&B group, their music. The music. You may not realize. But coming through those veins, it helped me to understand, like, yeah, what I want to see, I got to put in the music. So for me, the more that I learn, the more that I grow, the more that I've grown in Ifa, especially after I traveled to Nigeria in 2017 and was initiated to Ifa and really just took everything to the next level. My music just opened up, many chambers within myself. So to where, now, I am one of those people, I love to live African culture, not just, practice it, but I'm actually living it. So I'm learning how to speak Yoruba, I really incorporate that in my music and what I do, what I talk about, and just who I am. And especially I've been growing in Afrobeat since 2011. Before it was very, now it's having a whole renaissance and it's very popular, but I was embedded in it to where a lot of people who will meet me because I'm in the conscious circle. I'm also in the, African-American entertainment circle. I'm also in the Afrobeat circle, and I'm also in the reggae circle and the Jamaican circle. People who will meet me in any one of those spaces will think that's maybe the only space that I'm in, but that's really where I just see myself and my music as a bridge. So that's why I say I do melanated music, which that's Afrobeat, reggae, R&B, hip hop, all melanated everything.
I say all melanated everything. I got to say we have two powerful individuals on the program tonight. Both have tremendous gifts, and they're sharing their gifts through various art forms. Show them some love, please. It's so important. With that, Sister Iminah, we want to check out some of your stuff if we can. If we have a second or two to look at some of your artwork and kind of share it with the audience tonight.
I got time today. Let's go.
You got time?
Here we go. I'm sorry. So let me just say something, okay? Because I was feeling away when this sister girl sent me her videos. And I was like, why did you just stop? Really? I was just getting into it, getting relaxed. And she's like, no, I'm leaving it like that so you can want more. And we definitely want more. The outfits alone, okay? I'm like, yes, girl, yes, and yes. All right, go ahead, Taki.
All right. So again, y'all got to show them some real love. You know, we have two tremendous artists in the building tonight, and we want to definitely use this platform and make sure that their word gets out, their voice gets out, they get out. You know, we got to keep this thing going, and you know, really, people. Again, her information is there, brother. Jamar's information has been up. We'll keep putting it up, and just go follow them, show them some love, give them heartbeat props. They're not elders yet, but we got to support each other while we're here. Don't wait till something happens, like, you know, somebody, then all of a sudden their records go platinum. Let's not do that. Let's go out and support them in a real way. So, you know, this is real deep for me, and this is really kind of interesting also, because this is a really kind of different interview process than we've had in the past. But we definitely want to deal with our contemporaries and kind of talk about issues that are more so germane to what we have going on today. And there's been a lot going on in the news in terms of like social media news and so forth. But as creative vanguards of our culture, what is your feeling on thoughts of cultural appropriation? You know, this whole thing going on with Vlad TV, like, what's your thoughts on that? Brother Jamal, we're gonna come with you first with that one.
All right, I will say this, and people are not gonna like what I have to say about this one. Vlad, I've known Vlad for years. People don't know that. I got my start in the hip hop industry. I had a show called Ruger TV. Y'all can look this up. I used to go by the name in the streets. My name was Rennie Ruger, and I had a show called Ruger TV. And me and Vlad TV actually came out at like the same time. So I remember Vlad before he was Vlad TV, and everybody knew who he was. So he's not one of those the way they try to portray it, like he's one of those that just corporate dudes that just came through and just, like, you know, had a bunch of money and, you know, took over. Like, nah, he grinded and he worked his way from the bottom like anybody else. Like, in some of his early material, I filmed it. Some of his early material, he's even has, I gave him the rights to after I said I was quitting the music industry because it was going too far left and it didn't stand on the things that I was standing on. So I know where he got his start from, and I know the type of individual he is. With that being said, what I will say is this: you know, what he's doing, you know, is no different from what you know, what we see on World Star Hip Hop. It's no different from what we've been doing, you know, with ourselves. The thing we have to realize is that we're the ones who have the power. It's not him. He doesn't have the power. All he's doing is filming people who have power. Because we're interested in them. So, you know, if we don't go to him for our source of information for the hip hop community, then he doesn't exist. You know, and anything that we call, you know, appropriation, for that word, I'm not scared of appropriation in America, because that's what America was built for. It was built for a nation where we could all have the liberty and share each other's cultures and do that type of thing. The thing that concerns me is when we don't embrace our own things, but we get upset when somebody else does. You see, like I've seen somebody, you know, Jeremy Lin, he's one of the basketball players, and he had dreads in his hair. He's Chinese kid. He had dreads in his hair, and one of the basketball players came at him and said, you know, you're not black. You know what I'm saying? Your last name is Lin. You're Chinese. Yada yada. And his response to that was like, you have Chinese letters tattoo on your arm. You know, I used to watch you when I was growing up. You know, I love the way you ball. Like, you know, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we have to first, like, I always talk before I, you know, come at anybody. You know what I'm saying? I look at myself and I gauge myself. You know what I'm saying? I think the issue is the people that are speaking on these issues, they themselves have not fully committed into their culture and who they are, because most of them are suited up. You know, you can't talk about Black Power while you're wearing fine Italian suits. You can't talk about appropriation while you have your Italian shoes on and your Scooby Doos, and you look like them. You're speaking their language. You're speaking English. You're not even speaking a African language. Like we have to check ourselves first and foremost before we start talking about appropriation, especially here. Now, there's a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural colonialism. That is a problem, to where we value one culture over the other and we prevent one culture from being acknowledged. That is the issue here in America, not sharing each other's cultures, but the fact that they won't allow our culture to be shared unless they're doing it. That's the issue. You see, because, you know, from our understanding as Africans, we are the parents. No civilization came here and learned anything until we was here first and had it first. So everything that they have, we taught them. Everything. So when your children are doing what you taught them, huh? Remember that old drug commercial? Where did you learn how to do this? I said, I learned it by watching you. I learned it by watching. We are the parents. See, you gotta pick a struggle. Either you original man and woman, or you not. You see what I'm saying? Either you taught them how to do this or not. Because see, when we adopt that type of mentality, then we now give them the power, as if they got the ability to come and take our culture and do what they want to do with it anyway. It's ours. Every culture that's here, from the Japanese, no, the Chinese, they don't have Chinese eyes, they have African eyes. Huh? I can show you the blonde haired melanated people of the indigenous. I can show you them with the blue eyes. Those are our features. Those are African features. Those are not, what we call European features. We're giving our culture away. We don't, we've got our little Gucci shades on and our Prada, and we talking about, oh yeah, they looking and they got their cornrows in their hair. But you got to make sure that you flexing your culture, because one man's trash, next man's treasure. One man's trash, next man's treasure. So that's how I feel about the cultural appropriation, because I'm from New York, and in New York, next door, I got an Indian dude over here. I got a Spanish dude over here. I got the white man over here. We working, like, you can't escape this. In some cultures and where people live, all they got is black people around them. They don't even, you know what I mean? So they think that the whole world is just, there's a separate thing. Like, no, there's spaces here where we all have to mingle with one another. We already passed that. We got interracial relationships now. We got mulattoes running around here, babies that's got half blood in them. We've already passed all that just white and black. So now we have to think on a much bigger scale here. We're thinking in terms of culture, right? So now culture is something that can be shared amongst anybody. The Kemites perfected that. They went to all different nations and taught them how to write and how to do hieroglyphs, and taught them how to civilize themselves, and the Olmecs and the Moors. And this is what we do. We share our culture. We share our culture. The problem is when we share it, they take ownership of it, and then we no longer want to utilize our culture. We want to say, oh, they trying to be like us, but you're not doing it. You're not doing it, so they're going to do it. They're going, like Sistah Iminah said in the beginning of when she was talking about the Gnostics and the spiritualism and the things that they're doing. They're all spin-offs of our culture. That's our culture, watered down, that we don't want to deal with no more. Remember, we worshiping cracker baby Jesus. Huh? We call that witchcraft in church, right? So now when we look at it and we see them doing it, we say, oh, they stealing from us. No, you got to pick a struggle, baby. You got to pick one. Are you all in, or are you going over there? That's how it works. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about that.
Right. Peace. So Sistah Iminah, the same question, but we're going to come at it from a different perspective, in terms of something that may be a little more germane. The other question was germane to you as well, but just particularly as a woman, I want to talk about some of these establishments, and when I think of establishments, things like the nail salons and the beauty supply stores. We see the constant videos put up where our sisters are kind of going into these places, and there's a lot of disrespect. What can we do to kind of turn some of those things around, and why I guess we keep going to support these places when we know they don't really have no real love for us? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a very important phenomenon that I've definitely been just living out in terms of understanding, the problem. And as I travel, especially around the US, and I see, the same type of business model replicated in our communities, where the majority of the businesses that are directed and geared towards us, like the nail salon, like the beauty supply store, like most of the clothing stores, the shoe stores, all of these things, it really, it's clear there's a certain business model, especially now, the liquor stores, all of these things, and it's ramped up to where the majority of our people are never benefiting from any of the sales that are happening, are not employed. If you go to most of the beauty supply stores, I see that in Oakland. I'm also seeing that in Atlanta. They're employing somebody that is not Asian. They're usually Latino. They're not Black. I had a Black friend who worked in the beauty supply store, and I know what her experience was there and how things went. Most of the nail salons that are in our communities, they're not us, and they're not geared towards us. It's a complete blood-sucking operation. And it's on both sides, because those are people who are coming here based off US imperialism and colonialism and terrorism of Vietnam and of other surrounding places. And so then this opportunity gets open for them to come and make it out of that. They don't realize that the condition for doing that is that they're coming to be a buffer between us as the, permanent bottom class by design here, not being able to rise up. So I think it's very important for us to, one, again, just like understand and know our history and think about like, where were we getting our nails done in 1960, 70, before the Vietnam War? You know what I'm saying? Like, how was our beauty supplied, our beauty products supplied back in the day? Really looking at, that Madam C.J. Walker documentary or series that was on Netflix really helped to bring it home for me. Just really seeing and visualizing Black women taking ownership of who we are and who we want to represent ourselves to be. And so I think we have to really put the onus on ourselves and just take it over. I mean, I got my nails done here in Atlanta. You see, beautiful Black nail salon. Absolutely phenomenal. The experience.
You want to shout them out?
Yes. Polish and Soul Nail Salon in Atlanta. They're just on another stratosphere. The vibe, the decor, the conversation, just the whole experience, the music, the playlist, and the service. Because my nails are on point, and this is, just gel polish. It's not even any attachment, but it was just a whole elevated experience. Whereas, a lot of other Asian-owned nail shops I've been to is no vibes, no decor. They're not offering you anything to drink. They act like you're really coming asking them for a favor. If they're having a whole other conversation in language that you don't understand, you don't know what they're talking about, but you always feel like they're talking about you.
Yeah.
It's just a complete extracting experience to where I could go in a nail salon and it's like I'm chilling. I just was surrounded by Black women. And everybody, it was COVID safe and all that. They had their plexiglass, everybody had their masks and things like that. But it's just a vibe. And it's like, that is where, I know my dollars are circulating. And we need to look at things from a perspective of how are things circulating. Whenever I'm spending any money, even if I'm just taking it even beyond that realm, if I'm going on Airbnb, if I'm renting a car from Turo, if I'm doing things online, I'm looking to see who is of my community in these spaces, in these circles, to where I can continue to circulate my dollars. Because myself, I don't feel right. If I'm out all day and the majority of my money is not circulating in my community, when I'm thinking of where to eat in Atlanta, it's very easy to eat, and to spend money Black. But even when I'm other places, I'm being extremely intentional about that. And you move with that level of integrity, like it just comes Black to you. So I really want to encourage us to take ownership. And now you don't have to go to the beauty supply store to get things. You can go online. Tons of Black women online doing things. You can find Black nail techs, and especially here in this era of COVID, I think that's kind of a renaissance that has been happening. But we need to really think critically and understand that a lot of what we are experiencing and we're seeing, it is by design. And so we have to step outside of that matrix and create our own matrix, because the matrix is not the issue. The issue is what matrix you're aligning yourselves to and what you're allowing to come true.
Yeah.
Right. I like how you brought that in terms of the solution, because ultimately cooperative economics is how we deal with a lot of the issues that we're having. Even going back to the Vlad discussion, Jamaar Milton's platform should be 5 million strong. And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for you to have 5 million followers. We're aiming for Black people to come on and support Black people in a real way. And that's how you deal with some of the issues. That's how we deal with these issues of who we're actually paying attention to, if we just go out and support each other. even come in terms of just, you know, what we talked about with the nail salons and the beauty supply stores, things like that, you need to really go out and support one another. So I really appreciate that. So, you know, with that, you know, this often comes in a lot of times, and it's kind of sort of the same question. Why is it so easy for other individuals to come into our community and make money from Black people? Go ahead, Jamal. I see you smiling, so I'm gonna just go ahead with you.
They're bred that way from the time they're children, that they're gonna come to America and do business. You see what I'm saying? Like we brought up, we comfortable. It's like we the last child in the family. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to go through the struggle and understand what's really going on. We look at slavery as if that was the struggle, but really, let me tell you something, man. We got to do better. We got to start thinking on a much bigger scale than that, because we're looking at that as a crutch. We were bigger and better well before slavery. Slavery was just a blip in our history. We were doing great things.
Right, of course.
You know, if we keep that on the front of our mindset, you know what I'm saying, that we cut from the cloth of Mansa Musa, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to Kunta Kinte, we be all right.
So
we be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Spanish people come over here with one thing in mind: they're gonna work. They're the hardest working people you ever see. Japanese, Asians, they come here. We're gonna learn these computers, huh? That's how they come here with that mentality. We got fresh credit. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna do this. So, you know, we have to instill this in our children and break these generational curses. Help them to understand the infrastructure first. Learn how America works. Don't blame the system. Just understand where you are, and we have to deal with it moving forward. To change what you can today, and start moving forward. And we just can't soak in that nonsense. This is not the just get over it speech. It's not that. It's understanding that you were strong enough to get through it, right? Your ancestors were the ones who made it. They didn't get thrown overboard because they were sick and they were weak. Your ancestors are the ones who made it.
Right.
See what I'm saying? You come from the strong ones, the warriors, like the intelligent ones that was able to finagle things and escape plantations. Like y'all the ill ones. So we just gotta get that back into the forefront of our minds and who we are and in our spirits, and just own it. That we're the winners, not the losers. And I think that we'll be all right.
Right. Sistah Iminah.
Yes, wholeheartedly agree. We definitely have to, you know, just reorient our minds and reorient how we are operating. And yes, really, you know, knowing that, I like to use the analogy of looking at our legacy as African people as like a bank account. So we look at, you know, our development and who we are. We know that in some form or fashion, we as a people have existed on this earth for at least the past 3.2 million years. And that's us in a humanoid type of form, even though that, you know, a lot of people may try to discount that or act like that's irrelevant, but we have been in existence and been intelligent beings at least the past 3.2 million years. Our enslavement is only 200 and something years. We've been oppressing this way for about 400 years. So if, you know, you had a bank account of US dollars and you had 4 million or 3.2 million and someone does something with the 400, even though the way that they did it is shady and it's, you know, not cool, that's still not taken away from the rest of your balance. And so I want us to really view our legacy and our history in a way to where we understand, like Abu Jamar said, that is a blip in our history. And so we can't let that define our current reality, that we can't let that define our future. We can't let that be our foundation for our cultural orientation. And so in myself, and everything that I work to influence, and even in just my psyche, I'm always looking at myself from that perspective. And when we look at immigrants that come over here, right, there are many studies that have shown that the most educated group of immigrants and the most successful group of immigrants are African immigrants. And so when you look at the power and the foundation that African culture gives, and a lot of people will, you know, give Latinos the positive stereotype of being the hardest working people that they've seen. When I went to Nigeria, when I went to Ghana, when I went to Jamaica, those are the hardest working people I've ever seen. You know, you've never seen people working so hard as young Nigerian youth that's hustling shower curtains in traffic. They hustling, you know, anything they sale, running in flip-flops that are barely together all day, all night, you know, all kind of smog, everything. Like, that is a work ethic. People making whole generators out of wood and making something out of nothing. You look at that movie, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, and things like that, and we understand that African culture gives us such a deep level of ingenuity. So for me, I just really, you know, have freed my mind and my spirit in such a way to where, like, I understand, I honor my ancestors who did have to make it through these horrible times, but I also know that they brought in this whole legacy that I'm just scratching the surface of inheriting and really taking ownership of right now. So that's what I want to encourage everyone who is with us now and everyone who ever comes into my presence. And what I'm offering and what I'm bringing and representing is knowing that, and knowing and showing that we have a rich legacy. So I'm tapping into the 3.2 million years.
Yes.
Faith. Hey, Sister Felicia, you want to add on to that? Why do you think it's so easy for other people, individuals, to come into our community and make money?
Yeah, because I think in a lot of ways we're just, you know, we've beat down, you know, and I think that, you know, some of the things that, you know, we need to do is that we need to first just see the divine in ourselves, okay? Because it starts with that. We see the divine in ourselves, then we will see divine in others, and then we will start to support each other in a, like we always say, in a real way. And that right there, if I, you know, if I only, when I'm looking out and I'm seeing all these people and I only see Black folks, I'm not even paying attention to what white folks are doing, because I only see Black. I'm only, you know, like the sister said about the nail shop. It's like, I will go anywhere to find Black businesses, but you have to feel that in a real way, because if you don't, then it makes it so easy for someone to just come and swoop on in. And yes, sometimes our prices are a little bit higher, but they have to be, because we don't have 1,000, you know, beauty shops. We might only have 500, so the prices may be high. But there's a lot of times we go other places that are like white establishments that prices are high and people are not treating us right, but we still go back. So even if those things are happening in Black community, I mean, Black stores or whatever, we still have to go back, because we have to look at big picture. And big picture is us, you know, surviving for the next 2 million years, you know, and putting back into that, in that bank account. Like that's what it's about. So yeah, you got to just look out. And it's interesting, you know, when you were talking about the Black nail salon, this month in our HAPI newsletter, we actually talked about a bunch of different directories, like Black directories. Just go on to We Buy Black. Just go on to the Black Wall Street app. Just go on to Nihilist, because like Nihilist is really nice because they have all the products online that you were talking about that are Black owned. So, you know, we have the benefit of technology to help us to make these things that we're talking about in our minds actually happen. Right. You know, there's no reason why anybody that's listening to us right now need to go to a Korean shop to get their nails done or buy hair weave, if that's your thing. I'm just saying. Yeah.
We did work.
Start one.
Right. Or kind of start one. That's important. But yeah, back to that very central principle, you know, of cooperative economics. We got to get back to that. It's very fundamental. We've known the answers for years, you know, and we keep talking about it, but the solutions are real. Solutions, we know the solutions to the problems. Let's implement them. So with that, you know, we want to kind of shift gears a little bit, Brother Jamaar, and we kind of want to ask you, because there's certain things going on in the community. People kind of maybe classified as toxic masculinity, things of that nature. But, you know, there's a theme, like keeping it real. Like, how problematic is that, particularly when it comes to like Black males? Because I see a lot of these, you know, things that go on, and I kind of say, you know, I kind of attribute to just a certain culture, certain mentality, which also kind of speaks to the mental health and mental state of our people, and going back to even supporting others, because we have a situation where it's kind of a tie in here where we're constantly helping people hurt us, or we're constantly hurting ourselves. And that for me is very troubling. But let's just talk about that, keeping it real, and how problematic is that?
I think it's real problematic because the way when we say keeping it real, we actually mean keeping it fake. You know, like we don't really mean that when we say keeping it real. Like keeping it real, you know, is not believing in the things that are fake. And right now, you know, keeping it real means standing on a corner, you know, and hustling your life away, being in the same position for 10 years. You know, that's what they mean by keeping it real. It's like you got to keep the same friends. Like you're not supposed to grow. You see what I'm saying? Keep the same individuals around you your whole life, even if they don't mean nothing, even if they're no good. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it real. Just keep it real, bro. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm supposed to grow. You know, I don't know any millionaires. Maybe in about, you know, maybe next year I should know some. You know what I mean? Maybe I should hang out with them more. I'm hanging out with 5 bums. I'm supposed to keep it real here with the 5 bums. I'm the 6th one. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you mean by right? Like that's keeping it fake. That's like keeping it idiotic. That's what they mean by keeping it real. Like I was one of those guys. Like I had friends, and when I came back, you know, from doing what, you know, I got married and went off and did my thing, and I come back 10 years later to my old hometown, and the same individuals was doing the same thing. That's the ones that my mother told me to stay away from. They was doing the same thing my mother said that they was going to be doing 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? And it blew my mind. Like, Mama was right. Like, you know, that whole keeping it real thing, it's bugged out. It's unfortunate. I think now the newer generation that's coming up is a little bit smarter. I got to tip my hat. I think they're a little bit smarter than we were growing up in the 80s and the 90s. I think they're definitely a lot smarter in terms of starting businesses. You know, you see these young folks, 15, 16 years old, maybe even younger, starting their own businesses and all. I think the internet really helped them and stuff like that because they go connected with other relationships. You know, it wasn't just people that you rode your bike with. Now you can connect with people from all over the world and see different things that's going on. So I think we're a lot smarter. We've progressed, you know, in terms of that. So I don't think that keeping it real is as a problem as it was when we were growing up, you know, and the issue is there are some of us who are still stuck in that paradigm, and we've now passed that on to the next generation. You see? So once again, it still comes down to us and our generation and what we're doing, what our mindset is, and what we're feeding the children. We're the ones that's in control of breaking these generational curses. You know, a lot of us are first generation homeowners, first generational college graduates, first generational business owners. You know, so we're in charge of passing that legacy down and keeping it going, you know, to the next generation and keeping it. You know, my children have businesses. You know, my son, he's 9 years old. I didn't get my first business till I was 40. He's 9. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's a whole different mentality, you know, that now he's now coming up under. You know, he's talking to his friends in a different way in high school. It's not just about, you know, getting good grades. It's about maintaining relationships because they could be potential customers. You see what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, that whole keeping it real thing, I think it's something that's going to fizzle out, but it is something that was a major problem. You know, it's going to be trickling. It's never going to go away. But as a collective, I think it's going to fizzle out. It's not going to be the old, because we were bad. We were really bad 10, 20 years ago. That keeping it real thing was crazy.
Right. You know, a lot of times when you see the gunplay that goes on today and the level of violence and where the mentality comes from, because either the shooter or even sometimes people who unfortunate victims, you see how maybe the situations that they're in is intentional, just not using that mechanism, that survivability mechanism. And that for me is the most concerning point in terms of our community, because not only as it relates to just doing business with other Black people, but just how we move and operate in the streets. There's something wrong in terms of just that innate nature, human nature, the first law of nature, self-preservation, that's not kicking in on that level. So I think of keeping it real, I look at what's happening and how a lot of people go into places that they know maybe they shouldn't, but they don't care because they don't want to be like as a sucker. On the flip side of that is there's even the shooters, like I got to shoot them because I can't take a separate way, because there's a serious problem that, you know, again, mental health, the mental state of our race is really essential.
Yeah, it's such a blanket statement when you think about it, like keeping it real. Everybody has their own interpretation of what that means. Right. Like Tekashi 6ix9ine thinks that snitching is keeping it real. Right. You understand me? Like that's his mentality. That's where he come from. And some people actually see it that way too. You see what I'm saying? Like Donald Trump thinks he's keeping it real. All right. So it's like, you know, there's all different, everybody sees it in a different way. We don't have, because we as a collective haven't come together and made an overall standard as to what Black culture looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like Japanese culture, you don't have to, they know what their standard is. Like they know, like we don't, why are you not doing this? Like, why are you not putting, well, we're Japanese. We don't, it's not even a question. Like with us, we don't have, everybody has their different sects and their different religions and ideologies and theologies and philosophies and, you know, educations, you know, so everybody's in a different route. So keeping it real means something different to depending on who you're talking to.
Right. So just keeping in the vein, we just kind of took keeping it real and associated with keeping it fake. we're going to actually move to really keeping it real right now and just talk about who are we in terms of our level of divinity, in terms of who we are as people. And Sistah Iminah, this is definitely directed towards you. I'd like you to elaborate on that, please.
Who we are, keeping it real in terms of our divinity. So us having the understanding, the understanding, and the overstanding that we set the spiritual foundation for this world. And so everything in terms of even, how the major Abrahamic religions are, it all comes from an African foundation, even though now it's in a, colonialist, racist orientation. It still all comes from us. So us, I think one of the most important things that we as a people have to realize is that every person that I know or have seen has a belly button, which means they had an umbilical cord, which means they were connected to a woman to come into this earth from creation. I don't necessarily know, or I have not heard of anyone who's come into this earth that didn't come from that. So just in terms of whatever spiritual practice that you find yourself drawn to, it's important for you to understand that the divine masculine has definitely very important and very essential, but also the divine feminine is as well. And so how most African cultures, really orient themselves is looking at the duality, looking at both sides, and understanding that we are, parts of the whole. And that, in our even spiritual cipher, 1 + 1 does not equal 2, it equals 3. And so really us understanding that us working together in harmony, in balance, in peace, and in love, and in positive energy helps us to elevate. And looking at our, legacy and our inheritance in terms of, when you study a lot of different ancient African civilizations and how things went before the whole, kind of colonization and removal of any feminine essence from our, psyche in terms of praise, worship, divinity, it's going to open your mind a lot to really understanding a deeper part of yourself. So for me, especially as a woman, it took me a little while to really embrace that. Just even the goddess factor, the goddess concept. But then there's also like a flip side to where now I also see some people like too heavy on that and acting like men and the divine masculine doesn't have a role, or that if someone is being a strong man or a masculine man, that it's just automatically toxic and it's automatically something that is not positive for us. And it's both sides. So I think you can't be one way or the other. We have to be in balance and harmony. We have to have both sides working in balance and harmony. And so I think even with the whole keeping it real conversation, I found that a lot of the people that have lied to me the most or misled me the most, or I've had the most discrepancies with in our relationships, it's been people that was lying to themselves first. And so if somebody is living a lie in their heart, soul, and spirit, how do you expect them to relate to you? So I think I want to also just encourage everyone watching to really get real with yourself. And to not, if you're getting into this culture, if you're getting into the culture, if you're coming into consciousness and having your awareness, not thinking because you put on an unk ring and you got an afro, you took out the weave and you have some crystals and, you are meditating on your chakras, that's what it takes. African spirituality and African culture is about work, and you have to do the work. You have to pay the cost to be the spiritual boss of your own spirit, your own soul, your own destiny. And so that is really where, my journey took me in terms of, I did have a phase where I was just more, going with the flow and I'm just attracting things and I'm, just vibing, and then actually getting introduced to, serious African spiritual science and understanding that things that we call rituals, that is the scientific method. Mm-hmm. And people just going through these steps to get this certain result. And when you do these steps, when you make this offering, when you use the power of the spoken word and you say these words, when you divine in this way, you're going to get this result. So we need to also just take those, that unwrap that level of mental colonization and not looking at our stuff as just some hocus pocus and spirit may move. It's like, what spirit is moving? There's a lot of different spirits. So which ones are you working with? You can't just call on all the ancestors. Some ancestors are positive and did great things for us, and some ancestors you don't want to invoke. You don't want to open that portal. Some of us, in terms of you opening and aligning your chakras, there are things that are going to come out of it. There are things, if you're doing a whole bunch of root chakra work and you're not in tune with your shadow self, that can overtake you. That can, put you in a place. And also, if you're doing too much crown chakra work and you're in the ethers and you're spiritually rich, you feel like, but you broke as hell in real life, you're out of balance. That's not ma'at. That's not balance. That's not harmony. That's not our ancestral legacy. Our ancestors worked all day, every day, or they did not eat. When you even look at our agricultural society and how, most African spiritual festivals were about the new harvest, or you're planting, or you're coming back from the hunt, or you're winning a war because someone attacked you. Like, this is real life. It's not just because people felt it was cute or something that would look cool, or it was going to go viral on Instagram back in the day. Like, it wasn't going down like that. So we have to have a level of reality and know that whatever spiritual path you choose, that shit got to be working in your real life. Otherwise, it's not like, what I'm saying? You got to go back to the drawing board. And that's a journey I had to really go on and grow on to, not be so in my head and I'm just meditating and I'm manifesting and all that, which is great. But what work am I doing every day to actualize my dreams, to really make happen what I deserve and, just solidifying that energy. So that's my advice in my spiritual journey. I'm on my 10th year now, rising from ghetto to goddess. Is why, I started kind of officially in 2010. So now in 2020, yeah, I can say I've paid the cost to be the boss of my spiritual life. And so I just encourage everyone, to just continue looking inside and do the same.
Powerful. Brother Jamaar, I know we're kind of short on time for you, so we're going to tie the last two questions into one question. Who are we and what's new on the horizon for you?
Oh man, we are the all. One of the things that we do in African spirituality every morning with I should say we're in Kemetic spirituality, what we do is we do the opening of the way every morning. And the opening of the way is where we invoke the deities that are going to help us to embark on our day. And one of the things we say, depending upon the deity we're calling upon, we say a netarak in bedhet, we say a netarak shu, a netarak geb. And we're calling on these different deities, and then we say nuk shu, nuk geb, and what that means is, first it means to show me your face. We're telling the world, we're telling air, we're telling the wind, we're telling, the principle of love, ast. We say, show me your face. And then we say nuk ast, which means I am the air, I am the wind, I am water, I am moisture, I am, these things that help us embark upon our day that we need every single day. When you realize that you actually are it, that these things that people worship, the sun and Ra, like we are it. Everything that we see is a reflection, a manifestation that comes out of us. You see, and people see it in different ways. Somebody could look at something and see a totally different color from what you see, different vibrancy, everything. We are the manifestations of the things that we actually experience and that we talk about and that we think that are outside of us. Even the concept of a God, like we created that. You know what I mean? And when we really tap into that, it's like, it's like everything that's happening in my life right now, I did this. The good and the bad, the ugly. It's something that I manifested. I made it happen. Everybody that I see, that's me. They're reflections of me. I'm looking in mirrors. You see? So when we really tap into divinity, it's recognizing that we can take ownership of everything and change it in an instant. I listen to some of my records that I did in 2018, and I'm like, everything that I was talking about then is happening right now. right now. And me and my brother, we sit there and we like, yo, bro, did we do that? You know, when we look at the COVID, it's like, yo, we all were tapped into the same this portal, and we made it happen. We manifested it. We talked about it, and then when it happened, we even realized, like, yo, it like literally happened. Like right now, we here. You see what I'm saying? So it's like this universe is not outside of you. It's you. You are it, and you inserted yourself. It's like it's like if we want to think in terms of God to meet people where they're at. God created a video game, and he put himself in it, and he forgot that he created the game. That's who we are. We are people who created the entire system, and we inserted ourselves into it to have the full experience and forgot that we're in the game and we can change it at any given moment. We are the developers of the program. The sun, the moon, the stars, everything. We put that there. We can show you the glyphs. We can give you the original language. We've just forgotten who we are. So when we talk about divinity, that's how I see it. Is that I can't make any excuses for anything that happens in life because I set myself up for that, whether it be in this life or the past life that I was living with my mother and my father. I was living two separate lives, two multiple places of existence at the same time. And when I die, it'll happen again. I'll go into a multicellular single-cellular organism and disperse again. You see, it's just an experience.
Sure.
You see, so now I want to set myself up for the next life the right way. You see, so coming down the pike, the next question. I got a record coming out October the 10th. It's called First High. That's my next. I got about 5-6 records out right now, 5-6 singles before the album. Definitely, please go and support the record. You can actually, you can pre-download it. I think right now you can get reserve it. We're probably going to air it at midnight. The next music video, I think this is one of probably the most profound videos that I've done. I feel so free in this one. You're going to get all of me in this one. So definitely, check that out. Once everything opens back up, we'll find ourselves back in Africa. I'm also working on an initiative with Sistah Iminah Jamaar from Sierra Leone. We're working on some projects. The African Royalty Gala, we're going to be putting that together again soon. That was really good that we did in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to be doing that again. The Lighthouse family reunion that we do every year. We'll be doing that again as well. COVID just cut a lot of things short, but you know what? We did this, so we're gonna make it. We're gonna fix it. So, but as far as the music is a go. That's something that I can give y'all at will. So I'm so happy to be able to give you, that piece of me. And I would love to work with you, sister. I mean, I love your vibration, sister.
Thank you.
I love your music.
Happy Records is that.
That's right. We are the essential workers. So we're gonna keep it going. We can't stop working. So yeah, fam, I just want to encourage everybody. I'm super happy to be on this segment today. This is probably one of the best interviews that I've ever experienced. So I appreciate being invited. It was a lot of fun. I learned some things and experienced some things. It was just great conversation. You were really good people.
Oh, likewise.
Right. Peace. I just want to say something before you run, Brother Jamaar. I know you gotta go do this other interview real quick. I just want to say this, that putting you two together, it really was, I want to say, an accident. I didn't really realize the music connection. Like that wasn't something that was premeditated. So we're talking about divine order. This just happened. I wasn't like, oh, he's music, she's music, put them together. It just kind of happened like that, and it flowed in the right way. So that's how
from that, some of the things that she said is some of the things that I have in my head, and I've even said like many times. Like we stand on like almost like literally the same exact level. I love it.
You know what I mean? So there's definitely a divine order to all these things. So that's definitely positive. It would keep things moving in a happy way. So definitely. So with that, I know if you can stick around, that's great. But if you got to go, we definitely, we love you being here. Thank you, appreciate it, and
Thank you.
we'd love for you to come back again soon.
Absolutely. Dua, I appreciate you.
Yes.
Okay. So, Sistah Iminah, we want to go back to the ghetto of goddess, if you will. If you would like to go back to that, or we can just go right into what's new for you So kind of like the floor is yours to do what you need to do right now.
Well, Ghetto to Goddess, I'll say again, it's just my journey. And it's linked to the journey of us as a people, to where we as a people started off in the goddess state, and then through enslavement, through colonialism, through Jim Crow, through the crack cocaine epidemic, and where we are now, we were taken from goddess to ghetto. And now, so that's like one half of the circle, and now we almost rise from ghetto to goddess. And so my life, I will save you all the story, because my album I'm working on coming out soon by the end of this year. In addition to my book, a lot of people who do get familiar with my story on Instagram at Sistah_Iminah. I speak to my journey, scroll through my posts and you'll see kind of just visually where I came from, where people will be like, well, that doesn't even look like the same person, or I can't believe that was you, or I can't. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't me. That was me tapping into a false representation of myself that is promoted as Black culture, that's promoted as who Black girls and Black boys should grow up to be. And so I found myself a victim of that programming, and I lived my life. I gave my best effort to live that out. And I think I did a pretty good job. And just really through divine grace and through the protection of the ancestors and my destiny, I was able to rise above. Shouts out to my bestie Sharon on here. I see her comment. And, people that know me, I'm very about who I am and who I'm going to be. What I have. I don't know.
What's that?
I don't think it's me. The power is just level up, right? I'm time finding also aligning my work. I'll go on a circle where I'm really combined. People have seen me or making moves on the music scene. I've worked with most of the major Afrobeat artists that have come into the U.S. when they were doing their first shows, before people even thought or were attracted to Afrobeat. I've been doing that since 2011. But also in terms of education, Professor Griff is the first person who actually put me on a lecture when he heard, just part of my story, my idea of From Ghetto to Goddess. He said, you need to do a lecture. And February 12th, 2012, he put me on a lecture with him and Wesley Muhammad, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, which turned out being the exact time that Whitney Houston made her transition and was found dead in the bathtub when I was giving my first lecture. And this is before I realized I was a musician.
Wow.
That I had the musical connection. And what I even spoke about in the lecture, she was in the lecture. And she, her journey going from goddess to ghetto, and she was rising again from ghetto to goddess, because her, being the drug issues and all that, those are after effects of the ghetto circumstances that our people have been put in, a lot of traps that have been put in front of us. And so in that journey, I took the lecture, and then through other requests, it was turned into a workshop. Then I turned it into an actual program, and I started actually bringing it to colleges. Clark Atlanta was the first college to actually say, we want you on our campus. We want you to work with our girls. Even though I went to Spelman, so shout out to all the AUC, my AUC family, all my HBCU people. I know Sister Felicia from Howard, where I almost went. HBCU stratosphere. But I realized even working with college students, I was missing the mark. So I came back to Oakland to bring it to high school students. And in the course of me doing that, it also aligned with a call that was put out for targeted strategies to be put in place on a district-wide level to change the policies and practices that were disserving African American students. And so I returned back to Oakland in 2013 and began working the initiative. And now it has transformed into what is the African American Female Excellence Initiative, which is a district-wide array of programs and services that are for the upliftment of the educational experiences and life outcomes of Black girls in all Oakland schools. And I also created a similar program in San Francisco, unified as well, and prototype that as well. So in addition to my music, and that's what I'm doing basically on nights and weekends, during the daytime, I'm running this initiative to where, I took it from 1 school to now we're in 5, about to be 7 schools, and seeing how we can replicate it throughout every school in Oakland, and using what's happening in Oakland as a national and international model for decolonizing, de-white supremacizing, yes, I just made that up, but de-white supremacizing how our youth are being educated, because we have to bring in the culture, we have to bring in the knowledge, we have to bring in everything, and everything that I talk about in my music, I'm actually working to make happen in real life. And in addition to that, I also have the Black Lives Matter movement, hashtag Black Lives Matter, which that is encouraging Black people to appreciate, understand, and really work with and not be scared of Black gods and Black African spirituality. And not just saying you have to just do Yoruba, you have to just be Kemetic, you just have to do a Khan. Like, you're free to, because it's thousands of cultures in Africa. But we can't, especially when I deal with a lot of my brothers and sisters that are directly immigrating from the continent. And when I go to Africa, there's a huge disconnect in terms of this deep idolization of everything white, starting from white Jesus to Santa Claus and everything in between, looking at the hair, the hideous wigs. And I mean, I'm not opposed to wigs, but a lot of the wigs, it's like, come on, sis, it's just not even close to what we need to have. And then the bleaching of the skin, which is something that happens, throughout a lot of countries, especially throughout Africa, Jamaica, and just us not even wanting to be associated with our actual selves, and us looking, negatively at the village. And then you'll immigrate to the US, and then you'll find yourself shopping at Whole Foods, getting the same level of produce and eco-friendly materials that you scoffed at in the village, but now you're paying 500 times the price that you pay in Africa for what you had in the village. So we need to value those foundational parts of ourselves. And so that's what my music, my entertainment, my education, and just my whole, spiritualization, they follow I have come in on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Going through a whole rebirth. You'll see some online. Know that things are. We have some great things coming soon. So.
Yeah.
Just some kind of energy to where they just want to echo.
Yeah, it's we're gonna come back to some of that because we want to give that chance to clear. So we just wanted to say thank you to everyone coming out, especially people that's been in the building, those who commented, Omega Rich. We want to say shout out to you. Definitely give a big shout out, King Simon, all those in the building, for really coming out, supporting these programs. So important that just keep going. Just keep this going. Please keep this going. We want to subscribe, like, and share. So important. Share this video.
Yes, Sister. I see you. I know her from Atlanta. So good to see
you know what I mean? Definitely a lot of people in here in the building showing a lot of love. So definitely we love you all. And we want to definitely come out and do this stronger. So with that, Sister Iminah Jamaar, I want to say anything in closing?
Give thanks, Twanter, Modupe Pupo, Ishigani. It's been great. I really appreciate love what you all have brought forth with the hapifilm. Shouts out to my bestie Sharon, representing Haiti on here. I just really give thanks for what you all brought and what you've continued bringing, because like I share with you, Brother Taki, I've known your work since Tekken. Back in the day, Tekken and Nubia, even though, I did receive it on bootleg, I shared that with you. Y'all don't bootleg the hapifilm, okay? Y'all.
Please. One more time. Girl.
Don't do it, y'all.
Don't do it. And listen.
Oh,
And if you're gonna do it, don't send us an email and tell us you're gonna do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
that's not it.
Yeah, I want to, so with that, we're going to, if you guys can hang out. Brother Jamal, you had anything you want to say?
I just want to say dua. Shemamatep, thank you for bringing me on once again. To all the Lighthouse family, I see you on the feed. I love y'all. Much more to all of you. I have a meeting right now I'm going to do with Brother Leonard Jeffrey, so I do have to run. But I wanted to send you guys my gratitude, and I will be in touch with all of you in the near future. All right?
Thank you.
All right, peace. Peace, brother.
Peace.
So, Sister Iminah, you just want to hang out in the backstage real quick so we can close out the show, and we'll come right to you.
Okay.
All right. So, another great episode of HAPI Talks. As Flip said, if you haven't seen the film, I encourage you to really go watch it. It's very different than what you may expect it to be. Shout out to Tahuti Films, all those who are involved, all the other executive producers on the project. It's a tremendous body of work. These conversations, in effect, are extensions, sometimes, if you will, of the film. The film was over 2 hours long. And this whole process of call and response in terms of just communicating and asking the questions and answers is how we essentially, the footprint for the HAPI film and for a lot of docs that are out there. So what you're seeing here is also a part of just the process. But we really want you to watch it. And if you can't come to October 3rd screening because it doesn't fit with your schedule, the DVD is available on the website. You can also go to also through the website and get a digital copy. You can watch it anytime, any place. There's also other merchandise on the website. Obviously, we have the HAPI shirts that we see here. We also have the HAPI compass that Sister Felicia is wearing.
Yeah.
So we definitely want you guys to go out and really support it. Like we said also before, share this video, like it. We only have like 46 likes right now. Please like the video, share it, subscribe to us, the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, and there's a call right now to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. This is all because of you. We've been doing this for, I guess, really about 2.5 months, and we've come a long way. But in order to really understand the HAPI movement and to really get into what it is, you have to see HAPI from all its different components. And the HAPI Talks are great, but the film is a huge aspect of this. And you have to see the film and make the connection between the film and these conversations and these discussions. So important. Sister Felicia?
Yeah, you know what? Ditto to everything. And remember, if you get the ticket for Saturday, you actually get a pass, a Zoom link to see a special. We're having like a special panel discussion with a couple of the HAPI cast members, and it will be hosted by Philippe Matthews. So it's very important. Remember, if you've already seen the film, tell somebody else to go and see it. Hapifilm.com.
Yes, hapifilm.com. Definitely go check it out. And, I'm going to personally stake my name on it. You won't be disappointed. No. Everyone have seen it. They loved it. And those who have seen it, please share with the family. Please share it in terms of just your testimonies and what you thought of it, what you think about it. And, it's really important that we just keep this going. So with that said, we also, again, sign up for the newsletter and go to the website, hapifilm.com. We have our monthly newsletter that came out. And we really want to just keep pushing certain aspects of the HAPI movement along in terms of teaching children. So 2/5 of our newsletters developed by youngsters. Shout out to Dane and shout out to my man, Mr. Mackey, in terms of just them getting them involved and understanding their culture and also getting them to understand just how business works. So we want Black people, especially Black children, and teach them essentially at a young age. Yeah. So with that, I'm good. Sister Felicia, you got anything else? We can close it out.
No, we're just going to close it out at our beloved Nana Patricia Newton. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Peace.
Peace.
Lust is a temporary insanity. It's not going to necessarily take you from one place to the next. It will make you feel good, but it won't make you feel good for long. And so having that dialogue, having that communication, having that mutual respect, because people need to have some congruency in terms of where they're going, where they see their future, and what their ideals are for child rearing. And to failure to do that early in relationships, I'm not saying to jump every relationship and think that you're going to marry that person. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, that when you get someone that you see a lot of compatibility with, that you really do like, it's time to start having those kinds of conversations with or without the context of marriage, but with the concept that this is somebody that I could possibly spend a lot of time with, maybe a life with.